How do we protect innovation once it leaves the lab? Welcome to Inside Medincell, the video podcast series where we go behind the scenes on long-acting innovation, right here in our Montpellier headquarters. When we hear intellectual property, we often think about patents. In reality, it's much broader than that, and it plays a key role in turning innovation into long-lasting impact. Today, I'm joined by Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Who leads intellectual property at Medincell. He'll walk us through how IP supports our technology, our partnerships, and ultimately our capacity to protect our innovation. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Nice to invite me. Thank you.
To start very simply,
Yes.
and to help our viewers understand what you do, can you briefly tell us about your background and what led you to lead intellectual property at Medincell?
Okay, sure. Patent attorneys typically have a science background and they mix that with law. And for me, I'm a typical patent attorney. So I was a molecular biologist for about 10 years. Then I moved into the patent field, became a qualified patent attorney, and I've been qualified now for over 20 years. I joined different companies within continental Europe, always in-house positions, and now I moved to Montpellier, and I live here in Montpellier, and I work at Medincell to manage the IP here. And for me, it's a real pleasure because I lead now the strategy and I provide practical advice to a fast-growing company.
Mm-hmm. So you had all your practical training as a patent attorney
Yes.
put into perspective at Medincell.
Absolutely.
So what does your role as a head of intellectual property really involves?
So important aspects of the role, they include not only managing our patent assets, the ones we already have, but it's also about providing practical advice to the company, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, as well as training and bring up awareness of patents more broadly within the company. The more people know, the more they'll be help me to find innovations and the better our patent position will be.
What's the importance of intellectual property in particular at Medincell?
Intellectual property, it provides two main benefits. As an innovative company, we invest a lot in our R&D activities. We innovate in the formulations and new technologies that we develop. And the patents really give us a certainty that this investment is protected as ours. We own this investment. As well as that, the patents are used as a revenue driver. So we partner with pharmaceutical companies, and they pay us royalties determined on the patents that we have in place to which they need to access. So it's protecting our innovation and providing revenue streams.
All right. So when people hear IP, and as you just mentioned, they often think about patents. Mm-hmm. But it's actually much broader than that. In what sense?
So at this point, and I'm not sure if you're going to like this or not, so let's see. So at this point, normally I bring out like a prop. Okay. So this is, I'm not going to show the brand on this, but this is a typical asthma type inhaler.
Yeah, I know this one.
And I like to use examples like this because it brings it alive. So in this product here, the drug will be patent protected, and the use of the drug to treat asthma could be patent protected. So that's one form of intellectual property. The shape of this is a design right. That's another form of intellectual property. And the name, which I'm not going to show you, the name is trademarked. So that's called trademarks. That's another form of intellectual property. The instructions for use on the inside, that will have copyright associated with it. And how the whole thing is manufactured and put together, that involves know-how. Know-how means the best way to manufacture things, essentially, or the best decision-making processes that you have. So in one product here, we have multiple forms of intellectual property, and they all act together in a synergistic way to make it hard for anybody simply to make the same product and put it on the market. So they act together.
It's a great example because it's actually a great example to show that even in all the products of everyday life,
yes,
everything is protected by patents.
Yes.
How would you explain the difference between patents that you just show and know-how in particular?
So a patent is a public but owned right by somebody. So you have a legal right, and you apply for that and get it granted by a patent office. A know-how is kept confidential and internal, and it's best described as optimal ways of doing things. So for us, there's at least two
Kind of
areas.
a process, in a way.
It could be the process by which we prepare and make our formulations. That's know-how, the best reaction conditions, length of time, amount of starting materials, this sort of thing. As well as that, the formulation teams here, they do a lot of work on finding the best formulation they can to work with our partners. And this usually involves like a decision-making matrix. How much of this, that, and the other? How should it all go together? The order of things. This decision-making, this is know-how. We've developed this know-how through a lot of work over many years, and that's a very important asset for the company.
When you look at complex technologies like Medincell's long-acting injectables technology, why both patents and know-how are essential?
So the patents are essential because they're firmly legally enforceable. If somebody was to make the product that's protected by the patents, you could take legal action against them. The know-how, it provides additional support to this. If a competitor wanted to make our formulations, they'd have to start from scratch. It would take them many years to find the right sort of formulation technology needed to make this particular product. So the two really do support each other. Both live together and both work together to add value to us and our partners.
Speaking of Medincell's technologies in particular, what are our patent statuses?
We have several, I'll call them generations, but basically they're different options as formulation technologies in the company. And each have their own form of patent protection. They're the initial BEPO linear protection, that's granted in nearly every major country. So wherever we think that our partners will want to commercialize their products, we'll have patent protection in that country.
It's filed in that country.
It's filed in that country and granted in that country. It's the same with the BEPO Star, actually. We had great success in the last 12 months with our BEPO Star patent status. So when I first arrived, this was still undergoing a lot of discussions with the patent office. A lot of this has been finished now, and our BEPO Star patent status is great. It's patent protected in nearly all the major countries, and we've got good, strong, clean patent protection. In addition to that, we also have some of the formulations patent protected, and we have particular strategies for formulations which differ than the strategies for the platform technologies.
It's important to understand that, to understand the complexity of managing patents and intellectual property, and you need a full strategy to think ahead of time.
Patents have to fit in with the business strategy of the company. I can't just go blindly wandering around patent protecting every innovation I think is interesting. Patents are expensive, they have to be justified, and we file them because we think they serve a business purpose. And the patent strategy is determined by what is the business strategy of the company, not the other way around. It's always the business drives the patent strategy. So because of that, we have frequent alignment meetings internally with the senior business people to make sure that we're not going down the wrong rabbit hole of innovation, that we're actually doing things which are valuable to the company and worth us doing.
Beyond the core technology patents and know-how, how are long-acting injectables in particular protected?
So the platform patent protection is just the beginning. From that, we then patent protect the combination of our platform technology with the particular drugs themselves. So I'll give you some examples at this point. As is well known, Medincell have great success and a great relationship with Teva. One of Teva's products, Uzedy, was launched a couple of years ago, and that's based on our BEPO platform technology. The patent protection for that isn't just the platform itself, it's also the subsequent new patent filings that we've done to the formulations. So whereas the BEPO patent protection expired 2033. Through building on this, we have protected Uzedy to 2040 and subsequently to 2042. So we've gained multiple years patent protection. And actually, when Uzedy was launched, there was 19 years patent protection on that product. And in the pharmaceutical industry, that is incredible. Getting 19 years protection at the point of launch is pretty stunning.
Yes, because usually the patents are filed much earlier than the drug launch. So,
correct.
So what's the average, for example, in the industry of patent protections for a new drug or a generic drug?
Between 10 and 15, I would say. So it's several years more than that.
So Uzedy is exceptional.
Yes, we did a great job with Uzedy. And olanzapine's similar, actually. Olanzapine, I'm not sure if the launch or status of this is public, so I need to always be cautious in these sort of forums. I don't want to give away information which is proprietary to our partners. But this is completed clinical trials, that's public, and will be registered and launched in the relatively near future. And again, we have great patent protection for that product as well.
How do you manage intellectual property with partners?
This is a really important question. We don't sit here in Medincell and devise these strategies in isolation. They have to be done with communication with our partners. That's because we need to make sure that, it's like what I said earlier, our patent strategy fits with their business strategy. So the two things have to fit together. We also need to make sure that sometimes when you write patents, you need a bit of a story. What's innovative here? And to develop the story, we need to discuss this with the partners to make sure we're not seeing something they don't really like. So we need to make sure our story is coherent, it's fully aligned with their business strategy. To make sure that happens then, it's about communication. It's about ensuring there's a communication between their IP department and me and my IP department, understanding the progress of the product and finding out when's the right time to file a patent application with the right story to maximize protection. Communication is the key here.
Speaking of long-term vision,
yes.
Would it be fair to say that intellectual property helps create trust and long-term vision for partners and investors?
Well, when it comes to the partners, it takes a long time and can cost a lot of money to put products through development, through regulatory approval, and then to launch. And patents provides good certainty that they will see a return on this investment because we've demonstrated already we can get patent protection for long periods of time on the particular formulations. That means that when the partner goes to launch, we should be able to deliver to them also good patent protection for that. That gives them a sense of security. For the investors, we've already shown that we can get patent protection for our partner products, which is a revenue stream to the company. And this, I think, will allow them to invest with certainty that the patent strategy that we have does deliver value to this company. And that's going to, I think that's going to be the most important point for them.
What makes Medincell's IP position particularly strong or differentiated today from other LAI companies?
Each LAI company will have, I think, an IP strategy which develops from their platform technologies. Some of our competitors, the platform technologies have already exhausted, the patent rights have gone. They're left then with formulation-specific protection, which is easier to design around. For Medincell, our strength lies in our constant innovation. I can't patent protect nothing. I need to patent protect innovation. And here, the innovation that goes on in the company really does serve a great purpose, not only to our partners and for the wider community, but also because it gives me something to patent protect. So I think the patent protection strategy here at Medincell derives from the success of the R&D department. This is differentiated because I know some LAI companies have got one technology and then stopped. We're not stopping here. The more we do, the more we patent protect, and the more value we'll add to the company.
If there is one key takeaway message you would like people to remember about intellectual property at Medincell, what would it be?
I would say it's integration into the business. Patents and IP teams can't just sit in little castles of approving or not approving what people do and don't. There's a great danger in that. I've seen this in other companies, that IP teams sit there in a little office and people come up to them and ask them advice here and there. That's a very reactive IP strategy. I want us to continue to have a much more proactive IP strategy. This involves communication with the R&D teams. It involves communication with the business development teams, the project managers, and senior management as well. IP is central to the success of this company, and the IP team has to be central to the company. And that's the take-home message that I want to give.
Thanks so much, David, for your participation.
Always happy to talk.
All in all, intellectual property isn't just about protection. It's a strategic tool that supports sustainable innovation, partnerships, and long-lasting impact. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon on Inside Medincell.